All right, everybody. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest, and welcome to It's Go Time. Now, before we get going, I'm going to ask you guys to not send me any text messages during the performance because, listen, when you're moving around up here and all of a sudden you get a text message, it's like hitting a wall. It can really throw you off. So if you have any text messages like that, please save them for the end, or even better, join our Discord. That's a great way to get in touch with us. All right. Also, if I can ask you guys to stay off the stage area here, this way, nobody blocks this big display behind me, and it gives me a little bit of room to move around and do the whole hosting thing, right? Also, if you'll notice at your lower left is your menu wheel, right? That collection of circles there, and at the very top of that is a microphone icon. Now, when that microphone icon is clear, that means that we can see what's happening. We can hear everything that's happening in your environment, and I do mean everything. All right, and so like if we've gone ahead, we've turned that to red right now. It looks kind of like this right here, right? And now that that's red, this means that you're muted, so we're not going to be able to hear anything. So if somebody comes into your space and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" You feel free to answer them because we're not going to hear that, right? Likewise, if maybe you have a barking dog in the background, you're not going to face social ruin by becoming known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during its go time. Okay, so we got that going. But just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice that you have a pink cheek smiley face in that menu wheel there, and when you click on it, your emoji panel is going to open up in the air in front of you as if by magic. It's going to give you a lot of variety of options with which to express yourself, right? So if I say something really deep, something powerful, something meaningful that I share with you, and you feel it right here, it starts to build up. You can't contain it any longer. Just let it out. Just let it flow, just like that. And maybe I got some backup dancers backstage, right? And they come out and we break into It's Go Time, the musical, and all of a sudden you find that they're not back out dancers at all, but they're ninjas, and they start like fighting each other. They start swinging from the rafters and all that, and you're like, wow, look at the production value in here. It's huge. You can throw up the applause I live for. I can take a moment to drink it all in because it feels good, right? Now, if I ask you guys a yes or a no question, you can say yes by smiling like this. You can say no by frowning like that, just like that. Also, if I say or do something funny, you can show me that you're laughing by doing the silly face emoji right here. And then there's this thing. This is by far the most distracting of all the emojis. I think we can agree on that, right, people? Now, we're not going to use this to ask questions. We're going to be taking questions and comments at the end, so don't worry about that. But while the show is going on, right, if maybe my moderators have had enough and all of a sudden, the stage catches on fire, because they're going to have their revenge, right? You guys got to let me know that. I'm up here performing. There's a fire behind me. I need to know that thing. So you're going to let me know by pressing that, raise hand button there like that. Let me know that there's a problem. Maybe my voice gets choppy and I'm like, maybe I'm waving my hands around. You can't hear me. And you're like, wow, this guy's really into it, but there's no sound coming out. That's the kind of thing you guys want to let me know. This is our bond, people. This is our sacred pact. This is our agreement between me and you guys, right? Now, like if I only see one of those hands go up, I'm probably going to keep on going. But if I see 4 or 5 go up, I go, oh, there's a problem I need to address immediately. Now, if you press the X button in the middle of the emoji panel, it's going to make that panel disappear. But it's a really good idea to leave that open during events like this because, it gives me some feedback, lets me know how I'm doing. But more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing, right? So if the person next to you starts going like this, that means they found something funny, right? You may not agree. You might be like, well, that's not funny at all. I don't know what's with this guy. I'm going to go stand over here, and you can do that because this is VR, except you can't do it right here because, this is the stage. You guys remember our pact, right? You guys weren't going to come up here unless you were invited to do so. All right, cool. All right, we're good? All right, awesome. All right, now what's Go Time about? Go Time is an event for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on another device, feel free to hang out. You may pick up some useful information that helps the growing Go community because there's new Go users arriving in Altspace each and every day. And, they're going to get larger. And you know what? Before you know it, they're going to take over the campfire and they won't be stopped. But you guys are going to need to know how to move. You're going to need to know how to survive on a Go in here because you know what? Beyond the Go in Altspace, it's not without its challenges. And speaking of challenges, listen, I've been in the bed for let's say about 2 years now, right, due to a medical condition. It's gotten a lot better. But when I first started out in Altspace, man, for me, this represented mobility. I couldn't wait to get in here. And I'd been reading about Altspace for a while. I was pretty impressed, and I was like, I want to get in there. So I couldn't wait to get in. So when my headset first arrived, I stepped out of the load screen for the very first time, and the very first thing I did was I looked up. And I looked at that sky, and that sky looked a lot like what I remember the real world sky looking like. Not this sky, because we got them wood rafters, and you know what? Didn't look like that at all. But I saw, the sky up there, and I was very grateful for this. I was so grateful. I started moderating for events right away. I started volunteering for Altspace. And, I found out pretty early on that my battery wouldn't last through an entire event. right? And my battery would run out midway through. And then I'd have to find the event host to charge up. I'd come back in and I try to track them down and apologize for flaking out. I didn't get off to a good start, kind of a rocky start, right? And I started asking questions like, what can I do to increase my performance? What can I do to make things better? How can I fix this? I don't know if you guys, if you know, it's been in my Wednesday event, I am possible, but yeah, I am possible. So I kept asking. And the answers I got to these questions eventually led to this event, right? And I put it all together in a way that we can show everybody the things that I learned, because I heard a lot of different things when I was asking those questions. Like I heard some people were telling me that I wouldn't be able to work this laser pointer on an Oculus Go, and you know what? That turned out to not be true. Ooh, I think I just vaporized somebody. Sorry about that. That's bad. Somebody just disappeared as soon as I hit the laser button. I feel bad. I hope we're insured for this. That would be very bad. Oh, okay. I was also told that these slides behind me, right? I was told that I wouldn't be able to work these slides here. All right. But you know what? That turned out to not be true. I was also told that, despite having a background presenting material like this in the real world, that I wouldn't be, my device wasn't reliable enough for me to host events. Not only did that turn out to not be true, but I went on to become a very prolific Altspace event host. I've done over 350 events in Altspace. I like to do I think I've done a pretty good job of when I can talk. And and more than half of those were done on an Oculus Go. Right? And you can too. All you have to do is make some small changes. So we're going to go over that and show you how to get the best performance out of your device. And there's two routes you can take. You can work with the device you already have on your head. So before you even leave here today, you're going to have like increased performance just by the tips that you pick up. But you can also upgrade your experience to, to exceed the limitations of your device. Now, I hate that term. If you're on the Altspace Discord, you're going to see that a lot. You're going to see limitations of the device. You're going to hear inferior device, weaker device. And hearing that stuff never feels good. But there's another term that gets thrown around Altspace an awful lot, and that's communities. There's a lot of rich, diverse communities represented in Altspace, right? And you have to remember that you're the important part of that equation, not what kind of headset you're on, right? The Oculus Go is an incredible introduction to VR. Right. I'll be honest with you. When I first came into Altspace, as I mentioned, I had a health issue where I'd get like dizziness and stuff. Right. So what would happen is I'm on a Quest now, but if I came in on a Quest to start out with, I wouldn't have stayed. Right. On an Oculus Go, you don't have to worry about the vertical movement. You don't have to worry about the complexity of two controllers, and it allows you to get used to VR at your own pace. All right. And it really is an incredible device. I feel about the Oculus Go the way most people feel about their first car. Okay. And if you hear terms like this, limitations of your device, just remember, you're not your device any more than you are your house or your car. Okay. It's important to remember that if you hear that kind of thing. All right. Let's start out with the device you already have on your head. Okay. You may not realize this, but your device loses power even when it's not in use. So, if at nighttime you put it down on a table and it's got 100% charge, by morning it's going to have a reduced charge. And that's because your headset is looking for updates to the apps, it's looking for updates to firmware. It's looking for, maybe it's writing letters to somebody on the other side of the planet. Maybe your headset has a whole secret life that you don't know anything about. Okay. And, and it can be devastating when you find out about that. Right. But, what you want to do is you want to make sure you come into Altspace with 100% charge. Right. And the reason for this is because, listen, if you come in with like a 20% charge, it'll work, but your screen's going to flicker around a lot. You're going to have performance problems. You're going to wonder what's going on. Right. So the thing you're going to do is if you go to altvr.com and you see what events are coming up. Ooh, look, Go Time. I've heard great things about the host. He's got this incredible hair and he's got this jacket that you're starting to see everywhere. Right. You're going to want to come and see that. Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to charge your device about an hour before the event starts. All right. You plug that in about an hour before you plan to come in. Right. This way you have 100% when you set out. Right. You're already on the winning side of things that way. Now, also, you're going to notice that when you first put your device on, you want to make this a habit. Every time you come into Altspace, you put your headset on, and that middle power button that you press to turn the device on, what you want to do, as soon as you see that Oculus home screen, the first thing you want to do is press and hold that button down and don't let go, right, for about 4 seconds. And you're going to see these 3 buttons appear in the air in front of you, and one of them is the middle button there is going to be the restart button. When you press this, you got to think of this as clearing your mind out. Right, it's going to get rid of all those temporary files, and it's going to put your headset in the best condition to experience Altspace. And you step into that load screen, and once you get here, you guys may have noticed what an important role body language plays in Altspace, right? Like, people can say so much without even saying a word. Okay, like if you're during an event like this and a moderator comes up to you, right, and they start slowly shaking their head back and forth like this, nice and slow, that means don't do that thing, right? And likewise, maybe somebody makes it up on the stage and I start going like this with my hand without me saying a word, that means get off my stage. That means you, Morgan, get off of my stage, right? And go like that without actually saying anything. But you're going to find that sometimes on your Oculus Go, you're going to find that occasionally your real world hand might be right here, but your avatar's hand might be way up here. And when it doesn't line up like that, you're not going to be communicating effectively. Like if I wave somebody off the stage, get off my stage, and that's happening to me, all you guys are going to see is my hand going like this, and it's look like I'm saying, hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying get off my stage. It's a very dangerous place. You don't want to get hurt. I'm a trained professional. Stay in the audience, people. All right. So, seriously, let's go. Now, what can you do to fix this if this happens to you? All right. You're going to notice on your controller, you've got your trackpad, and below that, you have a button. And on the very bottom, you have a button as well. And that button, you got to, don't touch it now, because if you disappear, I'm going to feel it. Don't do it. Right. But if you press and hold this button, because you got to think of that button like it's an eject button. If you press it by accident, you get taken to the Oculus main menu, and you'll have a choice to quit or resume. Now, if you press resume, you're going to get taken right back into Altspace like nothing happened. So if you're out there and you're dancing at the universe, maximally press it. You see, somebody always presses it. Somebody just pressed it now. Don't press this button. He just ejected out of Altspace and he's gone forever. All right. But if you press resume, you get taken right back in like nothing happened. Okay. Now, this button does something else too, though. Something really cool. If you look straight ahead and you hold your arm at your side like this, you bend your elbow in like that, right? And you look straight ahead like that, and you press and hold that button and don't let go. After about 3 seconds, you're going to see a white circle spin in the air. Somebody just did it. Dom Kazaki just did it. Because what happened, you know how I know he did it? What happens is your hand snaps into place, right? And when that happens, take a good look at your hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? Now, if it is, then you're good, right? And if it's not, do it again as many times as it takes until you feel comfortable. Like Dom Dacking just did it again, and now he looked at his hand and he's thinking, yeah, that looks about right. That's good, Dom King, right? That's good. Are you comfortable? You good? You're good? You're nodding that you're good. See, body language, people, are very important. That's awesome. Very good. So now we just made him more comfortable. Now his body language is more convincing, and he can communicate more effectively. All right? Now, another thing that's going to happen is you're going to notice, right, every so often those circles in your lower left, your main menu and all that, that's going to move around a little bit from time to time. Sometimes it'll move like right in the middle there, and you're going to feel like you could trip over it. It's going to make you feel off balance. But even worse, sometimes it'll go behind you, and you won't even see it all. And you're like, where's my menu? I don't see it. And somebody's like, well, if you open your main menu, and you're going to be like, what main menu? It's not even there, right? And you're like, it's on your lower left. And they're like, no, it's not. It's not there, right? You're going to have to remember that on your controller, that middle button, that's your menu button, right? So it's in your hand at all times. Anytime you want to open your menu, you just got to press that button. You don't need that blue and white triangle button at all. Now, if you look straight ahead while you're doing this, when you press it again, that menu's going to close, right? But as soon as that menu closes, guess what's going to be back in your lower left? Your menu wheel. So that's how you get it back. All you have to do is just press that middle button one time, press it again, and it's going to be right back where it belongs, all right? So that'll take care of that. Now, every now and then, you're going to notice, like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, lost my place there. That's not good. Okay, cool. All right, well, all right, yeah, all right, we do that. All right, one of the best pieces of advice I got when I first started out, you remember I said my battery wasn't lasting through events, right? One of the best pieces of advice I got is they told me to turn my brightness down, and I did not want to do it. I wanted to have the best graphic experience I could possibly have in Altspace, and for me, that meant having my brightness turned way up to retina burning levels. It was painful, but my graphics were awesome. They really were. They were incredible, or so I thought, because what I thought I'd do is I said, listen, I want to start making it through events, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this thing down. So on the Oculus home screen, you first turn the device on. Down in the lower right, there's a tab that says settings. And I pressed on that, and right in the middle, there was an area for brightness. I turned auto brightness off so I can adjust it manually. And there's this big blue bar there. And every time I came into Altspace, I would turn that blue bar down a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, until finally the brightness was completely off. And I came into Altspace, and I couldn't believe what I saw. I went to an event that I would help out with, and that event was like on this island, and there was a tree in the corner where all the moderators would gather, and we would catch up, and, we would plan on how we were going to attack the campfire. We would have our revenge one day, and we were laying our plans there. And as I walked over to that tree, right, I looked up, and I was like, wow, I can't believe it. As many times as I'd seen that tree before, right, it was more realistic than I'd ever seen it before, all right? And so, like, the graphics actually got better. Right? So there's no reason not to do this. If you turn your brightness all the way down, you're going to enjoy better performance. Your graphics are going to be better. But most importantly, your battery is going to last longer. And I started making it through entire events. Right? People hung out after events. I didn't know that. And when I started hanging out, I learned that Go users didn't have the best reputation in Altspace. And I found out why. It's because our microphones are extremely powerful. Right? And as the sound comes out of the ear straps, it gets picked up by the microphone and projected out for our avatars into Altspace. Only the problem is we don't know what we sound like, right? So what could happen is you're standing in the campfire, and I'm talking to TSR here, and I'm like, TSR, did you hear the thing that happened? Yeah, you're not going to believe it. Dom Dacking, he readjusted his controller. It was awesome. The host talked to him. It was amazing, right? And all of a sudden, I hear a voice coming from over there, and I look over there, and I see it's Ballistic Bear walking up to me, right? Except I'm hearing my voice coming out of Ballistic Bear, right? And it's freaking me out, man, because like, you know what, with that sound delay, it's like he's copying me, and I'm like, Ballistic Bear, quit making fun of me, quit it, stop it, you know, and it won't stop, it just keeps on coming back, right? And listen, all right, so it can be really hard to talk to somebody like that, right? And he'll come up to you and they'll be like, are you want to go? Are you want to go? And it can be really off-putting when that happens, right? Fortunately, it's really easy to take care of this. On your headset, on the upper left side, there's two buttons, right? The leftmost button is the volume down button, and just next to that is the volume up button, right? And when you press either of these, you're going to see these vertical bars appear in the air. Some will be solid and some will be clear. All right, what you're going for is 4 clear bars on the right side so your volume will be at a level where the microphone won't pick it up as easily. All right, and you're going to find people are nice to you right away, right? As a matter of fact, I didn't know what I sounded like in Altspace for like the first year I was in here until we got our YouTube channel. If you notice Raven Eye floating up there, that's our YouTube camera. In a couple of weeks, this goes out on YouTube. So if you want to feel VR famous, just turn around and wave at the camera and be like, hey, YouTube, how's it going out there? We got Ballistic Bear in here. We got Caleb. We got Morgan. We got Dom Dacking. We've got TSR. And we got Hummingbird. Come on into Altspace. I think you're going to love it. Got a lot of cool stuff in here, right? Come up, come to one of our events and say hello. All right, enjoy it. All right, so now around this time, right? When I learned that, I found out that if you attach a pair of headphones to your headset, that means the only sound coming out of there, will be your own. Also, you can use a pair of inexpensive earbuds. That's what I did. And when I added that on, and occasionally you'd still hear somebody come in and say, hey, are you still on that thing? And if that happens, the way to solve that is get them their own headset, right? And then when somebody comes in on them and asks them, are you still on that thing? They'll get them another headset. And then someone will come in on them and say, are you still on that thing? And then they'll get them a headset. And before you know it, everyone will be VR and my plans will at last be complete. All right. We kind of lost it on that bit. All right. We got a little carried away up here. Sorry, people. All right. Now, listen, that's how you do that, right? Now, listen, this got me thinking, though, what else can I add to the device that's going to improve its performance? And I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. And I call it that because, listen, I would go to these worlds that were heavy performance-based, right? And I see other Go users disappear, but I would remain. My device became super reliable, and yours can too. All you have to do is make a few small changes, right? None of this stuff's very expensive, and it's very small changes, and it'll make your device super reliable, all right? Let me tell you how I did that. But to do that, I'm going to have to talk about these products behind me. And now, it's important, I like to tell people, these are not the only products that work. It's the ideas behind these products that matter. Okay, so if you find like something in a different color, or maybe you find something cheaper, go with that and come back and tell us how you made it out. I love hearing different routes that people took. But if you do want to try any of these stuff, you're going to want to write it down, but it's hard to write stuff down in VR, so we made it super easy to find, right? What you want to do is if you go to altvr.com, in the upper left, you're going to see a link that says channels, right? When you press on that, you're going to see all these wonderful Altspace event channels there, and we're down toward the bottom. Now, the admins tell me that doesn't mean anything. All right, I think it does, but they tell me it doesn't mean anything. Or you'll see Ravenhole events like it says at the sound booth up there. When you click on it, you get taken to our event channel. And now on the left-hand side of that page, you're going to see all these products listed out, so they're easy to get to. You're also going to see a join Discord button if you want to say hello. You guys have any questions? You want to help us put on events like this? It's a great place. We organize all our stuff there. Also in the upper right's the most important button on the internet. There it is. That's the subscribe button. And when you press it, Altspace knows that you enjoy our content. Right. And we don't get paid to do this. And every time we see that number go up, it makes us feel good. So it's a great way to say thank you. Also, it doesn't feel as good as when people subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the absolute best. And if you are watching out on YouTube today and you want to try any of these products, you're going to find links in the description below. Wow, nailed it. I usually mess that bit up. All right, cool. Now let's talk about this is and what it does, okay? You've got this on the top here, you've got the Anker Power Cord battery pack. I figured this was going to solve my power issue, right? Because Oculus tells us not to use our devices while they're plugged in, but they say we can use an external battery pack. So I started there. And I think, and around this time, I had heard that people weren't charging as effectively. And I think the reason is, you ever notice when you plug in your device, that port, it's kind of tight? All that wear and tear eventually loosens the connection and it won't charge as effectively. All right, so we found this middle product here called a MagSafe cable, and the way this works is one tip plugs into USB end, plugs into the battery pack, and the other tip plugs into your headset, and it's held in place by a magnetic connector, which it turns out is a great safety feature, because if you turn your head suddenly in VR and it pulls on the cable, instead of your headset being yanked down and your whole world being turned upside down, right? And you're like, oh no, my wire, right? What happens is it'll just pop off. And when it does that, it's easy to fix. You don't even have to come out of VR to fix it. You just pick it up and you hold it near your headset and it'll kind of snap right into place. It'll make this cool thunk sound. And if your microphone's open, your friends are going to go, what was that? You're going to go, that's pure power. That's what that was. That was absolute power. And you don't have to say that. It's not going to make it work any differently. That's just something that I like to do. And feel free to do it too, if you like. All right. But, this did solve my power problem. It really did. And then I discovered I had a new problem. I started overheating like all the time. All right. Any of you guys ever overheat? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods here. Okay, you guys know what that's like, right? Yeah. Well, you know what? Some people, the way they fight this is they'll use like ice packs, they'll use bags of frozen peas. And listen, that's not a good idea because when you hold that up to your headset, you're going to get condensation inside your headset. And that means water and electricity on your face, right? That can't be good. And the people I know that did this, they went through more than one headset, all right? So it's not great. What we came up with, right, is this bottom product here called it's an AC Infinity USB fan. It's really small. It fits in the palm of your hand, right? And you got to make sure that the silver part is facing the faceplate. The faceplate is what cools your Go, but it's installed by hand. So, people experience different things. Like some people overheat once every half hour. Some lucky few never overheat at all. I knew a guy that overheated every 2 minutes. And one of the first Go times we ever had, somebody came up the stage and they asked, listen, and my headset, it's like melted. It's like it pushed in. It's the shape of it's changed from the heat. I figured it's not safe. We got to solve this thing. So we found this fan, and it works great. And when I came in to test it in Altspace, what happened was, I wanted to see how it would perform, right? And I went to this event that I would help moderate for back then, the meditation event in Altspace, and it's held in an incredible space. It's on top of a mountain. It's got like smoke coming up out of the bowls. You got sunlight coming through the fogs. It's amazing. And I would always overheat exactly 20 minutes into the experience every single time. Right. So I went in there early to help moderate, and I went up to the host, and I got all these wires coming down from my headset where you get used to that. But if you've ever seen Star Trek, I felt like the Borg. You ever seen the Borg with the wires, right? Felt like that. And, maybe I felt like Bane on Batman. That would be cool. They don't, just press the button, get huge like that. All right. But what happened was I went into that space, and I went up to the host, Jeremy, really nice guy. And I said, can you hear my fan? All right. And I asked him that, and he said, he says, not at all. Can't hear it at all. So I turned it up to medium, and when I did that, I said, how about now? He says, I can hear it a little, but it's not that bad. So I turned it up to the highest setting. And before I could even ask, he goes, you sound like you're lost at sea. You sound like you're in a wind tunnel. You're going to want to fix that. Right. It's like, okay. And I turned it down all the way. And spoiler, I never had to turn it up again. This is what happened. Right. 20 minutes came, 20 minutes went, and I finished the event and I didn't overheat. I wanted to know where the line was. I wanted to know what the limit was. So I set out to see how far I could go. I went to another event. And at that event, I didn't overheat at all. So I went to another event. 3 events in a row, people, and I didn't overheat once. I went back to my home space, hung out with my friends, right? But I couldn't find the line. I just wasn't overheating at all, right? And I had all the power. I was the longest period I've ever been in Altspace ever, right? And when I went, finally, when I left Altspace, something happened. For the very first time, I left Altspace by choice. I didn't leave Altspace because I ran out of power. I didn't leave Altspace because, because I was overheating. I left Altspace because I actually wanted to. All right. And that wasn't the last time that would happen. After that, my device was super reliable. And I went on where I was moderating events all the time. I was hosting events all the time. I was everywhere. And you can be too. All it takes is a few small changes, and none of this stuff is very expensive. This bottom product here, the fan, is only about $10 or $11 US. This middle product here is only about $7 US, like the cable there. And at the very top, the power pack's the most expensive thing up there. That's about $30 US. But listen, if you're not going to be in VR for like 16 hours at a time, you can get it by with like a smaller capacity battery. They even come in different colors, right? So you can work out what works best for you. Okay, maybe save a little bit of money there. All right, now although my device became super reliable, there still were some problems. And the first one I'm going to talk about is a movement issue. And you guys have probably experienced this, where if I'm up here and I'm talking and I go to turn left to say something to Ballistic Bear, but instead of turning left, I go straight, right? And then I go to turn right, but then when I turn right, say something to Hummingbird, instead of turning right, I go straight again. And I'm like, what was that? And I press down on my controller to move backwards, to back up. But instead of backing up, I go straight again. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I keep banging the controller. No matter what happens, I keep going forward, right? No matter what happens. And before you know it, I'm standing inside of an admin. All right, there is nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. When I was in there, I saw things. I saw the future of Altspace. There were flying cars. There were lasers. I mean, it was incredible. There were different factions. They were all fighting each other. It keeps me up night thinking about this stuff, right? But you know what? This doesn't have to happen to you, all right? All you need to do is take your thumb and swipe it across the trackpad from right to left, left to right. Doesn't make a difference. Just don't push down hard on it, right? Just very gently swipe your thumb across the trackpad. And when you get to the other side, lift it up in the air, cross over to the other side, and swipe it again. You do this 2 or 3 times. When your thumb comes down, push it in the direction you want to move, and it'll be, and this is going to become a reflex after a while. So if I turn left, say something to the Ballistic Bear over here, right, and I don't move the way I want to, and I go straight, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go swipe, 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 and then when I come down on direction, it's going to turn me in the direction I want to go, all right? And that'll take care of that for you. All right. Now, another thing that can happen is when you first put on your headset, sometimes you're going to get this message, and this usually happens when you're in a rush. Like, oh, okay, the event starts in 5 minutes. I'm on my way. And you put your headset on, and you'll see a message that says can't find controller. All right. Now, this could happen if you got to change the battery, but you put a fresh battery in it last night, right? And you put on your headset and you see this, and for one reason or another, your controller is no longer talking to your headset anymore, right? Maybe you found out about your headset's secret life and it's, devastated and you just can't go on, right? What you want to do to take care of this is you only got to do is remember two words: double down. And what I mean by this is underneath your trackpad, you've got those two buttons, right? If you press and hold those at the same time, all right, after about 3 or 4 seconds, a little white light's going to appear on your trackpad. Now, if you're wearing your headset, you're not going to see this. But what you will see, as soon as you lift your thumb up, you've got your hand back, right? And you jump into that load screen. You're like, man, I am glad I went to Go Time. That Michael Forrest, he was a little crazy, but he knew what he was talking about, right? He told me to double down, and I got to be on time for my event, right? So if that happens to you, you're welcome. Another thing that can happen is every now and then you can notice your screen goes dark, all right? And this can happen not just on an Oculus Go. This happens on other devices, too. Any mobile device can happen to. And the reason for it is because everything you see in here today, all these avatars, the stage, this big shiny red button that we have in the corner here that we're going to use at the end of our events for a special effect, all this stuff takes up memory. And if you've been like going to a few different worlds and then you go to a campfire, something like that, right, you're going to find that when your memory fills up, your screen goes dark. And the best way to manage this is to get out ahead of it before it happens. So let's say, you've just been to 3 worlds and your friend says, let's go to the campfire. All you have to say is, sure, I'll catch up, because you've just been to a bunch of worlds. You're going to want to clear your memory out manually, so it's not going to interrupt the conversation. So what you do is you say, sure, I'll catch up, and you press that bottom button on your controller, that eject button, remember? And then you just press quit, and you restart the app, and you come back in and join your friends. It'll be like you never left, but now your memory's all cleared out, and now in the middle of a conversation, your screen's not going to go dark, okay? And that's going to take care of most of that stuff. All right, now, also around this time, I usually give out building worlds tips, but I'm a little bit short on time. If you guys want, I can skip over this. If you'd like to hear it, show me some hearts. Show me some hearts, and I'll keep on going. Otherwise, we'll move right to the questions. Okay, cool. We'll do it. All right. I used to moderate for an event called Building Worlds at Altspace, right? A really nice event there. And, when I was moderating for that event, I'd often hear people on an Oculus Go say that they couldn't build worlds on an Oculus Go. Right? And it's simply not true. The Go is capable of remarkable precision. There's really wonderful worlds in Altspace that were built on Go's. But where do people get this impression from? When you first interact with the world editor, if you've gone into your main menu and you've gone to settings and you've gone up to general and you've become part of the world buildings beta program, it's not easy to say, but it's real easy to do. And you're starting to build worlds with your hands, right? When the first time you grab an object in the world editor, the very first time you do that, you're going to notice an object going all over the place like that, right? And it takes a little while to realize that it's your head that's controlling the movement. Okay, right? Now, I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard to keep a level head in any reality, let alone a virtual one, okay? A little bit harder there. So your best friend is in your world editor. You're going to see a white box on the bottom of that panel that opens up when you press it called lock rotation. And as soon as you press lock rotation, things are going to get a lot easier for you, right? What you're going to do is now when you go to interact with an object, if you squeeze and release your trigger one time, all right, you're going to notice that you can move the object around, right? And as soon as you get it where you want it, you squeeze and release the trigger again. And then you take a look at it, and you're like, that's pretty level. That's kind of level there. And it makes a really good mustache. That's excellent, right? And now another thing you can do with it, right, is if you press and hold the trigger and don't let go, right, now you're going to be able to move that object up, down, left, and right. And also, if you swipe your thumb across the trackpad left or right, it's going to change the size of the scale of the object. If you swipe your thumb up or down, what's going to happen is it's going to move that object away, or it's going to pull it closer to you. Or you can just walk up to where you want to place it. So let's say that we put the object right here, we put the laser pointer right like this, right? Now, if this was the real world, that would be on the floor right now, right? But on an Oculus Go, you don't have to get it perfect. You only have to get it close enough. And then what you'll do is you go into the world editor there, and once in the world editor, you look for the object on the left side. You'll see all these items listed out there of all the objects in the space. And here you'll see it's the laser pointer, right? So we'll see laser pointer, and next to that will be a cogwheel, all right? And then we press on that cogwheel, and a panel will open with all these numbers on it. There'll be numbers for position, there'll be numbers for rotation, or for the size or the scale, right? And once you do that, you're going to want to change these numbers by very small amounts to see what happens. So like right now, if the position value for X is set to 20, right? And we change that number to 19. What's going to happen is you're going to see that the laser pointer is going to jump like right over here, right? And when that happens, now I know anytime I lower that X value for position, it's going to move anything toward that window. That must mean that if I increase that number, it's going to move toward that wall where Morgan is standing, right? And that means, and since that was the X value, if I change the Z value, it's going to move back toward the snack bar, or it's going to move toward the display right there, okay? Now also, do you have a question there, Pickle? We're going to be taking questions in just a second, okay? We're almost there. Hang on. All right. So what happens now, right, is once you've done this, you're going to place another object and then another object. And before you know it, you will have built a world of your own where you can hang out with your friends and maybe host events in. All right. It's super easy. It'll go pretty quick. All right. And I know typing in those numbers and stuff, it can be kind of hard to type things out on that little keyboard they give us. But you know what? It's a lot like when you first get a video game. You're concentrating, you're focused on those controls, right? But after a while, you don't think about the controls anymore. Like, after the first week, you're not thinking about the controls. You're thinking about how to save the world. You're thinking about how to crush your enemies. That's a great way to spend a Wednesday, right? And it'll just get easier the more you do it. All right. So keep at it. You'll be able to accomplish great things. Matter of fact, if you want to get an idea of what you can do, and when this event's over, what we're going to do is we're going to head out to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. And when we get there, keep in mind that world was built in less than 2 days on an Oculus Go. All right. And there's links and portals to other worlds there, like Lake Ravenhall. It's much bigger. It took a lot longer than 2 days because the world is huge. It's worth checking out, though, because it'll give you some idea of what you can accomplish on an Oculus Go. All right. Now, we are going to be taking your questions and comments. We don't have a lot of time for it. We're going to take a couple if you have any. But you're going to notice in your lower right, you're going to see a raise hand button appear as if by magic. That's what magic looks like in VR. It's true. All right. So go ahead and press that if you have a question or comment. And you'll get on my list, and I'll call on you, and I'll get to feel like a radio host. And while we wait for that to fill up, if you want to find us on Twitter, if you guys are on Twitter, you'll find us at _ Uncanny Valley. I know that looks like one underscore, but it is actually two. All right, we got Pickle Rick. What's going on, Pickle? You're on the air, and I get to feel like a radio show host. You're on the air right now.
What is the most requested VR headset after an Oculus Go?
Right now, the Oculus Quest is very popular. There's another Quest coming out. I think they're calling it Quest 2. A lot of people seem to, like the Index, but the Index is extremely expensive. The Valve, you know what? It's hard to say what's the most popular, but right now, in terms of availability, they can't keep the Quest on the shelves. So those are selling like they're very popular. So I'd probably say that it was that. All right, we also have TSR. TSR, you're on the air. What's up, TSR? There you are. What's going on?
Can you get those stands on like Amazon?
You can actually. Actually, the links that we have up on our event page, you're going to find that actually takes you to Amazon. Okay, so that'll help you out with that. All right, everybody. What we're going to do now is I'm going to press this button on the wall here, and when I do this, you direct your attention out the window there, and you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft fly down the street, right, and go up over those trees and land in that backyard area. Now, you can actually fly these ships if you want to once we get to the academy, all right? We're going to teach you guys how to fly if you don't know how, and we'll take it. If you have any more questions, we'll take them there, okay? So here we go. I'm going to press this button here.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
Here it comes. Look at that. Now, we're going to go out back and meet it. So everybody follow me outside. All right, let's go. We got to catch it. We don't want to miss it, all right? And listen, if you've learned anything here today, please share it with those you come in contact with. So if you're out in the campfire and somebody says their face is on fire and their headset's so hot it's going to melt, right? Tell them about the fan. Tell them where they can find that, about our event page. Tell them about Go Time, right? And tell them about all that. And that's how we help keep this thing going, okay? By helping each other out. Here we go.
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'll see you next time.